Welcome to today's show. And I got to tell you, I mean, get the tissue out, if you're in a place to get the champagne going, this is going to be quite a show. What if I told you that you are going to be hearing about some of the biggest relaunches that you could possibly have in a sad way, but also some of the most important relaunches from a career perspective, and that there is death and that there is celebration, and they all can happen when you understand how to impact a relaunch and to make it work for you. And today I have some really exciting news that I'm going to share with you. And it's going to start right now. So I don't know if I've really told you about a book that I've been writing on a journey for 14 months. 14 months. And this is something that came out of a death that happened, and it was my mom. And my mom got cancer suddenly. And it was one of those situations where, we come from a line of women that live into their hundreds. My grandma was 105 when she passed, not even 6 years ago. My great grandmother was well into her hundreds, I think about 104 or 5, and my great great grandmother was 106. So my identity has always been around a long life. Sure. In fact, I'm not even halfway through. I haven't even hit midlife. And yet I'm 53. So I want to say that I had this experience that really took me out. It was one of the massive relaunches to lose a parent and to have to go through that. And I brought her back to my house. I helped her. I took her to the doctor's appointments. The cancer spread everywhere. And here's the thing. When she passed the November, it was October 28th, but imagine this is right before COVID. And all of a sudden we're going into lockdown. And I have to process this from the confines of my apartment in San Francisco. And we had just moved in. I literally had been in this apartment for 6 weeks. And all of a sudden I had my mom come and she was there and she had, I had her room, and all of a sudden, she passes, and then I'm moving in and I'm like, oh my God, all I want to do is get out of there. I want to do that eat, pray, love. I want to get the hell out of Dodge. I want to get into the wild. And then we're told, no, you have to stay inside. If you go outside, you got to put a mask on. You can't do anything. And I'm like, I felt like I was going to explode. And I'm sure that some of you, maybe even you're going through it right now, that you feel like, how am I going to get through this? I'm not strong enough. I can't make it. I need help. I need something. Well, I turned to writing, and I'm not a writer. I am an extrovert. And when you talk about writing, even when I was in college, I did not like to write. I mean, I hand wrote things, and then I would turn it into this woman called the Phantom Typer. And I'd give it by 7 o'clock at night, and by 6 a.m. she would have it back. And oh my God, there were she had modified some of my paragraphs that made no sense to me. And all of a sudden they made sense. I'm like, the Phantom Typer is incredible. Well, then all of a sudden, we had to start using the computer, and I had to start showing all these different things so I could no longer use it. So I started to really not like to write. And then during this process where I'm like, I need to do something, I need to start thinking more about my own journey, my own relaunches, my corporate experiences, the 10 years I was there, starting my entrepreneurship, starting my what was called consulting business in a company I did with a dear friend. And it was called White Space Inc., INK. And really thinking about, would you be willing to take a board, put everything on it and just erase it? Because that's what I felt happened when my mom passed. I felt like my life had just been erased and I didn't want that to happen. So I dove deep and I joined a program, the Creative Institute, and New Degree Press ended up deciding that they were going to take me on. And I went through the journey with editors and with so many incredible people helping me on the journey. And they kept saying, Hilary, go deeper. We need another story and we need more. We need you to write more. We need you to do more. And I felt like I can hardly process what I'm going through right now, to try to go deeper, to put more stories out there, to have stories of business, to have stories of clients that have had these incredible relaunch journeys, to talk about like how my mom impacted, why did I turn out the way I did? And so I got through it. Painful. And then there's this whole thing of like, if you put it out there, will anyone read it? Is anyone going to care about what I'm actually saying? Is anyone going to be like, I don't get it. I'm not really sure what she's talking about. And we're going to go into more of like your takeaways that I'm going to give you today. But here's the catch. Monday of this week, I had my dad pass away. So my dad passed Monday. The book Relaunch, Spark Your Heart to Ignite Your Life launches today. The stories in it are on my mom. Now I've got this heaviness of my dad. My dad's not here. But here's the greatest part. As I was writing it, my dad hasn't been feeling very well for, at least the last 6 to 12 months. So he was a captive audience. And I would call him and I would visit him and I would read these chapters to him. And he would say, oh my God, Hilary. Oh my God, yeah. And then he would say, keep it simple, girl, and keep talking about intuition and keep talking about resilience. And this is what people need. This is what people need to hear, especially today. With so many global relaunches going on, we've got wars, we've got pandemics, we've got financial crisis, we've got global death. And then you've got businesses that are really struggling, that are trying to figure out how are they going to make it? Are they going to have to lay off, tons of people, or are they going to have to close their doors? How do you fit into this hybrid world? And then you've got your own relaunches that are happening. And those are relaunches that could be, personal. Like, who am I? What's my purpose? Where am I going? And it could be also the relaunches of relationships or the lack of, or is this person a fit? And am I supposed to be with this person? Or it could even be, the business relationships that you have. And that, most important, like I said, that relationship with yourself. Are you listening to the gurus out there that are like, love your life, love yourself, love your job, love, love, love. And you're like, my life in this area freaking sucks. I'm not in a place of love. I'm in a place of self-sabotage. Like, why can't I make this happen for me? And when you think about that, I want to say it's okay to be in a place where you're just wanting to survive. Forget about thrive, just survive. Just get past what you're going through today. Begin with like. Start with like before love. There might be an area of your life that you're like, no, Hilary, I really love this part. Great. More power to you. And then there might be other areas of your life that you're like, no, I don't like how I look. I don't like how old I am. I don't like that I'm not where I'm supposed to be in my business. I don't like how much I have in the bank. I don't like fill in the blank for yourself. And when I think about this week, and I think about, I'm not the only one here that has these relaunches. And again, you're probably like, yeah, you can relate. Like, what's going to happen tomorrow? I think about like in the last 6 years, lost my grandma. I lost a cousin. I lost my mom. I lost my dog at not even 8 years old, or maybe it was just 8, to melanoma. Who would ever think a dog could get melanoma? And then my dad. Like, dang, that's a lot of loss. It's a lot of loss. But here's the thing. When you think about all of these relaunches that are happening, it's pressure, it's stress, it's high levels of cortisol in your body. It's that fight or flight, that just keeps happening. It just keeps happening over and over and over again. And it's like, how can I pull myself out of this? How do I actually begin to live again? And I often say it's not a new normal that we're going through right now. It is truly a new different. Stop trying to make what used to be. I used to be like this. You hear often about like the should haves, should have, blah. Like just throw up on that, like be done. And now it's a matter of, all right, that's the past. Take the awesomeness that you have within you. Take the amazing memories. And for some of us right now, it's hard to even remember those amazing memories. But give yourself the space. Give yourself a time, a moment, a chance to just be in this moment, especially with me right now, to realize that, I was on a really great podcast, or actually radio show earlier today. And somebody said that, we're limited editions. Yeah, we're first editions. Because my book is coming out today. There were so many people who signed up early to get a copy of something that hadn't even been written yet. I was in the process. But they were compelled because they knew, like, there's something about relaunch. And I'm going to give you a little story, which I think is so, interesting. When I first came up with the word relaunch and I wanted to name this business, I went through all of the different ways of like, how do you name a company, and, what's the most important thing? And I remember like, relaunch just kept coming to me. It's like, when I had melanoma, it was a relaunch. When I got divorced and I became a single mom with 3 little kids under the age 7, it was a relaunch. When I started to date again in the, digital world, it was a relaunch. That was a big relaunch. And I started to like say, but that's the right word. And I got pushback. I got pushback from people that, wait a second, are people really going to know what you're talking about? Are they going to like think that you're talking about, a business, a product? And I pushed back and I said, but guess what? Each and every person is the business. They are a business and they are the CEO of themselves. They're the CEO. You are the CEO of you. And if there's a point of failure within you, then it will fail. You will fail. You will get sick. You will have a breakdown. You will have, the emotions that we can't control. You will have, that feeling of despair. Why are more people these days getting depressed? Why are more people taking antidepressants? Because we can't figure out how to help ourselves. And so with relaunch, with the Relaunch Co, with this relaunch company, with this concept, it's like somebody's got to have like, that life raft. Somebody's got to be throwing it because sometimes we're so like caught up in the mess that we can't see the message that's supposed to be coming our way. It's too diluted. It's too like murky. I'm in quicksand. Throw me a branch, but you try to grab the branch and that thing snaps. So when I think about the word relaunch and I think about the naming of it, I'm like, God, could there be a better name after what we've all been through? I mean, seriously, it just fits. And so I want to welcome you to your relaunch that starts today. And I want to share the book, Relaunch, Spark Your Heart to Ignite Your Life, and let you know that this is your manifesto for everything that you ultimately want in life before we're all going to expire. Some sooner, some later, but let's make sure when it finally happens that we're where we want to be. We're happy. They talk about purpose, and my God, like, purpose is hard to try to figure out. But I have spent 20 years trying to figure out a way to help people through this incredible journey that we call life. And whether it's in business that you feel like you're struggling, or whether it's in life, within yourself, with others, when I come back from the break, I want to walk you through a concept called 3HQ, which literally is allowing me to show up today. It's allowing so many people to live their life and start to live it, not from the perspective of the what if, but the what can be. Let's talk more about the good, the bad, the ugly that comes with life's relaunches. And as I mentioned, I am in a pretty significant couple of relaunches that are happening at the exact same time. My dad passed on Monday. Today, Thursday, my book, Relaunch, Spark Your Heart to Ignite Your Life, is launching. And I'm going to share with you some of the things that have allowed me to actually show up here today, knowing that I'm right where I'm supposed to be. And I have to tell you all, I just got amazing news. And the book has just gone to #1 hot new release. We've hit a bunch of bestseller status. And, I think back on the journey and the process of getting my thoughts organized into chapters that actually made sense. And I remember when I was told, like, just sit down and just start writing, like, put it down. And I'm thinking to myself, how the heck do you put something down where it's like in 1,000 different places all over? I mean, like, you talk about the clutter in your mind. I had massive clutter in my mind. And so all of a sudden, I'm trying to figure out how to do this. And I first started the whole thing by just typing away. And as I mentioned, I'm an extrovert. So the thing for me was not working for me. Sitting and trying to come up with concepts and stories and what I really, after 20 plus years of consulting and coaching entrepreneurs and, executives, and trying to figure out, like, oh my gosh, how do I consolidate this down into something that is going to be so impactful for people, not only in their professional lives, but their personal lives? How am I going to do that? And I got this great suggestion, and it was, stop trying to write it all. Get out, start to take walks, and start to record it into Otter. It transcribes it. It will be awesome. It's going to be this great, you'll have everything down. Well, that was terrific. It was an amazing idea. But guess what happened? What happened is I started to have literally hundreds of stories that were flooding into me, from customer journeys to my own personal journeys to my mom's journey to, others that I'm like, oh my God, these are so good. And I started to do this. The next thing you know, I had a massive amount. I had like so much content. It could be volumes. It could be like the next Harry Potter. I mean, it would be like volume after volume after volume. And of course, they're like, keep it to around 50,000 words. And I'm like, okay, great. I think I have like 10,000 times 100 here. So, I've got 1 billion words. What am I going to do? And so it was awesome. I had a friend that I've known forever. And I remember our first conversation, and I was so all over the place. I'm like, I got this story and I got that one, and I really like this. And she just said, let's talk through, let's put Post-its up on the wall. Let's just talk about the base of what you're trying to get out there, right? Because you can all become, it's that paralysis, by analysis, by like trying to figure it out too much. And I was worrying so much about like, are they going to like it? Are people going to want to read it? Are they going to like slam it? Are they going to like not understand it? And I go back to my dad, keep it simple, keep it simple. And I'm like, but it's got a lot of neuroscience. And this is so important for people to understand that they have control that they've never thought they had. And it was so great because I remember I spent many, many nights with this dear friend, and we were up all night long trying to figure out which one was really going to be captivating to you, which was going to be impactful to you, which it was going to be something that you're like, I want to start doing that right now. And I have to tell you, one of my favorite chapters was around the experiences of moving from house to house when I grew up. And my parents were divorced when I was young. And so I had my dad's houses with my incredible stepmom, Inga. And then I had my mom's with my stepdad, Willie, who was amazing. And I had all these different houses. And some of the houses we were downsizing because of economic times, which I talk about in the book. And others we were, going the opposite direction. So I had like, my God, I had 2 different worlds that I was a part of. And I intended to start out this chapter based on a house that I had built with my first husband 25 years ago. And I was planning at the end of the chapter to actually tie it all together. And even now I realize, oh my God, I left that part out. I left out, it's had so much other content, so much goodness, so much like information to share with all of you, that I forgot to tie it all back together to the main point that I wanted, which I was told the other day, great, you now have your secret chapter, which by the way, I am going to put out there because it's so good. But what's so interesting is as I move from one house to another, and I'm going to specifically talk about my mom and how we had a incredible home in Bel Air. And then we kept downsizing because of the market and because of my stepdad losing his job. And then there was the market crisis. There was the financial crisis, and we just kept going down. And so it was almost like, people have the riches to rags, and then there's the rags to riches. And this was a riches to rags, but I had like that, wait a second, how do I stop myself from repeating these cycles, from repeating some of the behaviors? And I leaned into my mom, and I leaned into what I was watching through her and her perseverance and what she was like putting out there into the world. There was no feeling sorry for yourself. There was only this like, how can you bring your best self? Higher self, everyone. And people are like, what the heck is that? And so with this journey, I've always had this 3 H's that I use, this 3H method, this like concept. But what is that? And I ended up renaming it a 3HQ, the 3HQ. And what is the 3HQ? Well, we all know about IQ. your intelligent quotient, right? Your IQ. And this was big in the 60s, the 70s, and 80s. How smart are you? That'll help you land that great job. That'll help you keep the great job. It'll help you land that great relationship because you're so smart. You'll be able to decipher, you'll have problem solving. But then all of a sudden in the 90s, we came up with this concept of EQ, emotional quotient, and how empathetic are you and how tapped are you into your emotions. And what happened is that Sheryl Sandberg came out with in the basically in 2013, if you can believe it, it's a decade ago almost. She came up with Lean In, and this concept around like, you got to get yourself to the table, you got to put yourself out. And what we found through all the research, even through the Lean In pods that were created, is that it didn't work. Something didn't happen with the IQ and having everyone, be, trying to lean into that, and the EQ that didn't either. And leaning in didn't work. If I have a moment, I'll share my story that it really didn't work. But then where I came from when I thought, what is it about today? What is it about my journey? What is it about launching multiple companies as entrepreneur? What is it about working with 100 to 1,000 people that are entrepreneurs and seeing them get the success, going from 6-figure to 7-figure to 8-figure, having people sell their businesses for 250 million. And afterwards, people are like, I got to my goal, but I'm not happy. I'm not purpose filled. I don't feel like I'm where I thought I would be. Why is that? And it all comes down to what I created, which is the 3HQ method. The 3 H's stand for your head, your heart, and your higher self. And I go into this in the book, Relaunch, Spark Your Heart to Ignite Your Life, because there's something about sparking your heart. There's something about, we all right now are feeling a little dead inside, a little numb, a little bit overwhelmed by what's happening with the massive relaunches globally in business, in your business, and in your life, your personal life, your relationship with yourself, your relationship with others. And so 3HQ has grown into where I leaned into this. I really made sure that I explained it in such a way that, let me just ask you this. If I were to say to you, are you caught up in your head? Are you all in your head right now? Are you able to separate those thoughts that are ruminating, that once you have one thought, another thought, another thought, another thought? And if you are all in your head and you can't get out of your head, then welcome to 3HQ. And if right now you're like, hey, no, I'm good. I've got this. I can separate. Then let me share with you how you can move even further. So in your head, there is this concept, and it's the concept of, we all have beliefs. Those beliefs started when we were young. We know that. We get that. But what we don't understand is that you can't will yourself to get past your subconscious. Your subconscious is going to continue to bring up those limiting beliefs, those beliefs that you're not good enough, those beliefs that you're too old, that you're too young, you're not smart enough, those beliefs that, hey, you're not going to have enough money to retire. You're not going to have enough money to do this event. You're not able to take care of your family. Those feelings of those limiting beliefs of, hey, I'm never going to find love. Or maybe you have, and you lost somebody. Or maybe you had a marriage and it went south, or maybe you had a relationship and it went south. And you're like, I don't know. I keep bringing in all the wrong men, all the wrong women. Maybe that's where you are. And so what I created in the head part, and I go into a lot of detail, I give you the actual process of how to do this in the book, how to break these down. I've studied psychology. I have a psychology degree from University of Colorado in Boulder. And then I went on, and for 10 years, I've worked with some of the absolute best people in neuroscience. And I learned and I embraced and I understood concepts. And then I went and I got a master's certification in neuroscience because I'm so passionate about combining them all and then bringing them to you in that simple way. And so when you start to think about your limiting beliefs, I call them your bugs. Bugs, bugs, your beliefs underground surfacing. And hey, we love our empowering beliefs. We love them. Those are so great. Oh, I'm a great communicator. Oh, I'm a great, I love to get up and, I'm a great networker and, I'm a great content creator and whatever I call it the G zone, your great zone, your growth zone, your gratitude zone, whatever that zone is for you that you're like, yeah, those are good. Those are your empowering beliefs. We don't want to touch those. We want to harness those. We want to increase those. But we do want to take out your bugs. And for so many, we're stuck. We don't even know how to begin. And that's where I like to say, I come in. And you often have heard about KISS, keep it simple, stupid. I call it keep it simple, superstar, because we all have a North Star that we're going for. We all have like, this is what I want. This is what I thought I would be at this point. It hasn't happened yet, but I still have a vision. And if you don't, great. 3HQ is what will help you get there. Because I want all of you to be your own rocket ship to get you to that point. So when you think about your beliefs, you think about your bugs, we've got to get you out of these things that are like showing up for you. You might be talking to a coworker or a senior person at the office, or you might be talking to somebody that's junior to you, or you're getting all like, wait, why did I just say that? What the heck? Why did this rub me so wrong? And then you'll realize bugs. All right. So I want you to just accept that. I want you to just understand that we all have them. I've only met one person who said she didn't have them. But I said, you may not, which she does, but I said, you may not, but your people who work for you do. So I want you to be willing to even take on these concepts from that. I need to know this to become a better leader. A leader for my people, a leader for myself. And so once you get past the head and once you just understand it, then we move into the heart. And the heart is that like area that, I talked about earlier, that like, that self-sabotage, that like, I hate how I look. I hate where I am. I hate that I haven't created my own potential, that I'm still like living in the past. I'm just not satisfied. That's where your heart comes in. This is where the trauma is. And trauma for you could be very different than trauma for somebody else. And so I often find people say, well, gee, I didn't have, a dad die on Monday and launching a book on Thursday. That seems pretty traumatic. But I did have this experience with my fly open in front of a class when I was in, fifth grade that I still remember. And it doesn't matter. It's you and your own trauma and how you've created it. One trauma is no bigger than another person's. It's how you relate to it. So when you think about your emotions and your heart, there's emotional blocks that we have. And we don't even know why. Why am I a perfectionist? Why, which I'm not. Why am I a procrastinator? Which I am. And why? We can sit here and be like, I don't know. But guess what? There's always a reason. There's always a reason why you are the way you are. And so we want to tackle these things and we want to get you from that point of being able to get out of your head into your heart and connect the two. Because there's something really incredible when symbiotically they start to work together. And then you can start to create new neural pathways to where you want to go. Because in your head, you create your identity of who you want to be in a year, in 3 years, in 5 years. And why wait? Why would we want to wait? Because we don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. We have no idea when we wake up on a Sunday that tomorrow your other parent's going to be gone. You don't know. That's I often think about my grandmother, and she said, you know what? Man plans, God decides. Man plans, God decides. So when we come back from this short break, I'm going to help you understand what is higher self. How do we get there? How do we start right now to start showing up as our best version of ourself to attract what is your ability to do? You have it inside of you. And I'm going to share with you how to tap into it and start to leverage it, not in the future, but today. As I mentioned, my dad passed on Monday and my book launch is today. We've just hit the hot new release bestseller, and it's so twisted. It's so, what a relaunch roller coaster. But I was explaining in the last couple segments, please go back, hear it, because I share some things that in order to be able to be here, not be flat on my back, not be, just completely taken out. How do we pull from within? How can we relaunch in a way that is graceful and would make the people around you that have passed on proud? And I know my dad is up there. He's in the room. He is smiling down on me saying, yeah, Hilary, you're doing it. And so before I went on the break, I said about 3HQ. And 3HQ is a concept that I coined. It's get out of your head, into your heart, so that you can tap into your higher self, your purpose. You can feel like when you actually make it to a level of success, that lifestyle success, whatever that means to you, you actually are pretty excited. There's a visible energy towards you. There's not, which I've seen so many times, people have reached what they've wanted. Hey, I reached my goal, yet I didn't feel anything. I was numb to it. I wasn't able to appreciate where I'd been. And I've had people that have had massive exits, massive mergers, financially they're where, you dream like, oh my God, I'd be so happy if. And guess what? Those people, a lot of times, they've set their sights on what they thought they want, but they didn't know their why. They didn't know really, yeah, great, money's going to be perfect. I want this. Then I'll be able to have, the lifestyle. Well, I'll be able to fly all over. I'll be able to vacation. I'll be able to buy anything I want. I'll be able to, get the guy, blah, 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 have the houses. And then they're not happy with where they are. And some might be saying, well, it would sure help. Yeah. But why can't we all have that success, that richness, that not only monetary, but also the richness in our personal lives, the richness in our businesses that come from that accomplishment, that comes from really hitting home on why you started the business in the first place, really hitting home on how you are out there impacting the world, taking your products, taking your services, taking your coaching to that next level. That's really cool. And so when I talk about higher self, I talk about it in the form of energy. And what I mean by that is that your thoughts that you think every single day, it has a actual energy to them. Your thoughts have energy. And this is scientifically proven that they do. And they have a vibration that you've heard of, the law of vibration, that when something vibrates at a certain level, look at a tuning fork. When you hit a tuning fork to another, they will, even though they're separate, they will start to vibrate together. When you hug somebody and you put your heart to their heart, if you wait 30 to 60 seconds, your hearts will start beating at the same beat. It's that vibration. It's that frequency. And so if I were to say that your thoughts have that energy, and that when we talk about law of attraction and like attracts like, if you are operating at a shame or blame level, or you're pissed off at somebody, you're unhappy with where you are, you don't like what you see when you log into your bank account, you don't like the fact that your business is 1 month it's successful, the next one it's not, those thoughts have an energy, and what you put out, you get back. So when we talk about shame and blame on the vibrational hertz level, and in the book, Relaunch, Spark Your Heart to Ignite Your Life, I actually put a chart in there for you to see where your thoughts, where those emotions lie, so that you can be like, oh my God, it immediately makes you want to change. Like when you're like, oh my God, shame and blame is down at like 20 to 30 on that heart scale. Oh my gosh, love, joy is up in the like 500 plus category. And it's not just an incremental one for one. It's that whole concept of compound interest, right? You talk about, do you want 1 cent a day and it will double every day? Or do you want $1 that doubles? Compound interest. Do you want $1 million right now? Right now. In fact, let me give you this choice. Do you want $1 million right now? Or do you want 1 cent that doubles for the next 30 days? Which would you rather have? Well, if you said the 1 cent, it's about $5 million of that compound interest. The same goes with your energy. That as you increase it, you talk about like wanting a successful business, then your energy has to be reflective of that. I often say with 3HQ, we first work on it individually. We first work on you, your 3HQ, getting out of your head, your limiting beliefs, understanding your identity, where you want to go, getting into your heart, your emotions, getting out of the emotional box, really tapping into how do we take you from like to love. But then when you think about it, you get into that higher self, your best version of you, and you're starting to attract all this. Then we start to take 3HQ into your business, into the corporation. So just hear me out on this. Imagine your business has an identity in the head, has an identity. What's the identity right now? Is it one that's going to allow for growth given this new different? Or is it going to be like completely debilitating and bring you back? Does your business have some limiting beliefs? God, we've never gone through this before. Oh my gosh, we're not set up to have this successful product, this successful launch. And so I need you to be thinking that your business has a heart too, an emotion tied to it. What would your customers say? What would your coaching clients say? What would your, if you're $1 billion business, what would people that work for you, your employees, what would they say? Is the emotion that this business has. The heart, is it a heart-based company or heck no? Woo, there's no heart here at all. Because when we start to look at that and then we go into the higher self, the best version, your business also has an energy. It also has an energy to it. And is it all about like, negativity and oh my God, or is it about like, get the revenue, get this, we need to keep, driving like a slave driver. Like we just have to keep, pushing things forward, making people do what they don't want to be doing. That's not a way that we want to embrace a successful business. That's like living in the past. That's like, you're not going to grow. You're not going to be able to have the sustainability. So when you think about these things, who do you want to be as yourself in the 3HQ, and how do you want your business? It's so incredible to start thinking about you showing up as a true leader not something archaic from the past that's like, ew, I can't stand this. Makes you just feel like you're, at a low energy. So as you start to look at this, I want you to start to think about your intuition. Your intuition is that gift from your higher self. And whether you sit there and say, yeah, when I have an intuitive hit, I just know something. That means it's like happening in your head, right? I just know that this is, right, that this is going to happen. Or is your intuitive hit part of your heart? You have that feeling. You have that feeling that you can do it. Or is it part of the higher self where you have a sense, oh my God, I just had this like sense that went through my entire body. I get that a lot, where it goes from like, oh my gosh, from my head to my fingertips to my feet. When I'm working with people and all of a sudden I'll be like, oh my gosh, I got, I know which direction we're going to go. This is what you need to hear. This is what you need to be listening for. What is it about you? We have to tap into, we have to realize that your intuition is an actual muscle. It's a muscle, which means we can build it. It's like a muscle that if you were to say, I want to go run, 5 miles, and you haven't ever run, and you're like, can we just start with putting our shoes on? Let's just start there. Maybe even start lacing them up. That might be the first couple days. Then we get into, let's go out. Maybe we walk for a mile. Well, what you can do with your intuition, and I always like to say this, is first and foremost, what you need to do is give yourself a moment of pause. And I talk about, the pause principle in the book, Relaunch, Spark Your Heart to Ignite Your Life. I talk about this because it's so important to pause throughout the day. We're so busy being busy that we can't even hear anymore. We can't hear the intuition that's even trying to get through the noise. And so you pause and then you take a couple breaths. You take those 3 breaths, deep in, deep out. And why are you doing that? Because oxygen is actually helping fuel your cells, helping you like by focusing in on that. And then what you can do is just think of like a domino, that one thing, that domino, like what do you need to ask right now that when you did, wow, that would really get things going in terms of the domino effect. What's that one thing? And then I want you to, as I said, hear what's coming to you. Take the time to hear it and listen to it. And the most important last step is take action, not in an hour, not in 5 hours, not tomorrow, but do just the simplest thing to say, you know what, intuition? I am hearing and listening to you. I'm hearing and listening to you. So super, super excited to share 3HQ with you. And you can right now order Relaunch, Spark Your Heart to Ignite Your Life and get a free ticket, free to a Release and Relaunch, a live 3HQ workshop. It's a $299 value that I want to give you when you buy the ebook or the paperback. And then what is this book and workshop duo? What is it? Who wants to set their lives ablaze and get the manual to create everlasting sparks? Who wants that secret? Who wants that? Give me that, Hilary, as simply as possible. That's what this workshop and the book do. And so you're going to hear stories that contributed to my biggest successes and learn from people who've inspired me, my clients, my mom, and how I guarantee you those stories are going to be impactful for you. And so it's all at, you can even go to www.therelaunchbook.com, therelaunchbook.com, and you will hear everything about it. Everything. So excited. Thank you for joining me today. Next week, I have Jill Griffin. She's been listed as NewsCred's 50 most influential people in advertising. She's going to be sharing everything on her journey and give you what's going on in advertising today and how you can make a successful business yourself. Take care, everyone. So grateful to have you on the show today. I would really, from my heart to yours, appreciate if you go get that book at therelaunchbook.com. See you at the workshop. You've just heard another episode of the Relaunch podcast. If something shared in this episode resonated with you, please head over to iTunes right now and leave us a 5-star review. And share this episode with others to inspire them to take the small steps that lead to a life full of purpose and possibility. And remember, you can have immediate access to the show notes and any giveaways at therelaunchco.com/podcast. Until next week, now is your time to relaunch your transition into a transformation.